Hello, everybody. This is Carol Merlo. I'm a licensed spiritual coach here at CSLDallas, and I'm going to be doing the Science of Mind class today. How you doing? It's rainy here. We have been experiencing a lot more rain than usual in Dallas, and I'm really liking it because my water bill is kept lower. But I'm also looking forward to the hot, muggy summer. So every season has its benefit, and the hot, muggy summer allows me to go to the gym instead of walking outside. So there's always a benefit. Okay, we are on page, okay, now check this out. I got to figure out how to read this. Page 150, the laws governing prayer. So go ahead and open that up.
It's 152.
I'm on the wrong page, darling.
152.
152.
There we go.
Prayer is essential to happiness.
We all need a little prayer right now.
That's right. I say a little prayer for you. Okay, so before I start reading, I just want to know, does anybody go, ooh, at the word prayer? Or is everybody cool with it? We're pretty good?
Looks good online.
All right, great. Because historically, that word prayer typically means speaking to an external God, right? And you know that Ernest Holmes wasn't about that at all. So remember that when we're talking about prayer, that this is an internal conversation with our divine self. All right, good. So prayer is not an act of overcoming God's reluctance, but should be an active acceptance of his highest willingness. Through prayer, we recognize a spiritual law that has always existed and put ourselves in alignment with it. The law of electricity might have been used by Moses had he understood this law. Emerson said, is not prayer a study of truth, a sally of the soul into the unfound infinite? Prayer is constructive because it enables us to establish closer contact with the fountain of wisdom, and we are less likely to be influenced by appearances around us, to judge according to appearance. Righteous prayer sets the law of the Spirit of life in motion for us. Prayer is essential, not to the salvation of the soul, for the soul is never lost, but to the conscious well-being of the soul that does not understand itself. I'm going to read that one more time. Prayer is essential, not to the salvation of the soul, for the soul is never lost, but to the conscious well-being of the soul that does not understand itself. There's a vitality in our communion with the infinite, which is productive of the highest good. As fire warms the body, as food strengthens us, as sunshine raises our spirits, so there is a subtle transfusion of some invisible force in such communion, weaving itself into the very warp and woof of our own mentalities. This conscious commingling of our thought with spirit is essential to the well-being of every part of us. Prayer has stimulated countless millions of people to higher thoughts and nobler deeds. That which tends to connect our minds with the universal mind lets in a flood of its consciousness. If we think of God as a heavenly dictator, something apart from that which lives and moves and has its being where we are, then we are certain to believe ourselves disconnected from this infinite process. And the inevitable consequence of such thinking would be a terrific fear that we should never be able to make contact with him. But if we know God as an indwelling presence, our prayer is naturally addressed to this presence in us. We long for and need a conscious union with the infinite. This is as necessary to the nature and intellect of man as food is to the well-being of his physical body. Over to you, Ryan.
Okay, so I guess we're going to jump into the discussion portion for today?
I guess, and so I'm going to ask some questions. Is that all right?
If you want to ask some questions, I'll go ahead and have you turn on the microphone. And then let's just go over some quick housekeeping rules so that way everybody knows how to participate. But before I do that, I just want to acknowledge the fact that we have the Philippines in the house.
Yay.
He's been watching us online and is now here in Dallas with us. Just goes to show the power of community around the globe that we have here at CSL Dallas. So I love and appreciate that. So as we are hopping into the engaging portion of today, let's go ahead and set some ground rules. For the folks that are here in the room, if everybody could raise your hand, I just want to make sure that it works. Okay, there we go. Look, I got a couple waves. Isn't that lovely? So if you have a question or you want to engage with the conversation today, feel free to raise your hand and we'll pass the microphone around. And for the folks who are joining us online all over the globe via Zoom and Facebook, you can participate too. For the folks that are on Zoom, go ahead and hit the raise your hand icon located down below. There you go. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
And we can bring you into the room as well. And for the people who are watching us on Facebook Live, make sure to put where you're watching us from today and also your questions and comments, and I can bring that into the room as well. And I do always like to mention that I keep the comments anonymous. That way we can continue to have a safe container for spiritual growth. So Carol, what's one of the questions that you had that you wanted to bring to the room?
Okay, thank you for asking, Ryan. So I want to know, what is your experience with prayer? Does it feel like you're talking to God? Or what else does it feel like if not that? Who can answer that for me? Don't be shy.
A little bit.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
And Darlene first. Whoops.
Oh.
Go ahead. And
Good
please
morning.
start with your name, okay?
Good morning, I'm Jacqueline,
Okay.
and I'm new to CSL.
Okay.
Prior to coming to CSL, I didn't know my mind was so wise, but now I know I have a wise mind for sure after coming here. What I'm really saying is I am tapped into me, my spirit, not knowing CSL and other places like this truly exist. And in my prayer life, it's not been one that I'm looking for answers for some outer body thing, for lack of a better term. And I will become more polished as I study science mind and become a part of this community. However, in the opening of the book, like my mind is stuck right back where we did our introductory saying, you know, God is not an out-of-body experience. It's tapping into yourself. But then we still use words like his and like that. So it just is a little bit back and forth. And that's kind of what my spirit is. It's I know something is responsible for the universe. Don't know whether you use a pronoun of his, her, or however, but it feels okay because I am really knowing that I'm the person that actionably is doing it. Nobody's going to wake me up in the morning when my clock rings if I don't get up. But just knowing that there is something out there. If somebody has a better answer for me, I'd love to hear it.
Okay, could you put it behind you and let me talk to Darlene and then I'll respond. Go ahead, Darlene.
In past, my name's Darlene, but in past years, praying to an entity outside of myself, I no longer do that. And I think one of the most powerful statements in what you just read to me is that prayer is essential not to the salvation of the soul, you know, for the soul is never lost, but to the conscious well-being of the soul that does not understand itself. And so I feel more confident today in knowing that I am one with the infinite and that my prayer life is to be more conscious of the awareness of what I'm not aware of. And so just to sit in the seat of that and observe and observe what I'm experiencing as to it just being something that I'm not aware of and not something that I need to grasp outside of myself.
Okay,
If
perfect.
that makes sense.
And we have one person online, but if you would wait just 1 minute while I respond to these questions. So one of the exercises, do you own a Science of Mind textbook?
Yes, I bought it when I first came here.
Cool. So one of the fun exercises to do is every time you see the word him, you can say it or you can say me. Because that way it eliminates this idea of a gender of God. Remember, he was writing this in the 30s, 20s and 30s, and it just wasn't appropriate at that time to talk about God in any other way as him, because that's how Jesus did it according to the Bible. So, good morning. So I hope that helps, and keep coming. This is great. I'm hoping and excited about your learning. Darlene, you're right on. This is an experience of tuning into oneself, one's own state of being. So, for example, what I do, is I knock over glasses. Thank God. Okay, so, for lack of a better word. All right, so what I do is I open up. I allow my mind or my brain to relax. I do this in meditation every day. And then I allow. And I go, okay, I'm not even asking it a question at that point. I call it it. I just think of what it is like to be open and experience and allow and let it do whatever it's going to do. And I sit there and feel and respond and interact with that itness, allowing it to move into me. Very similar to what you're saying, Darlene. So that is how I take up prayer, and I'm glad we're on the same team here. I think that how many people have that kind of relationship where it feels like you're allowing, it's an I-thou relationship. It's not just it and me, it's us together. And like we're one. And so as I open up and experience and allow, it starts to come and fill me in greater and greater ways. Are there questions online?
Yes. Right. So there's two. So first we'll go to Marjorie. Marjorie, do you want to go ahead and unmute yourself and join us?
Good morning. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, loud and clear.
Wonderful. Good. Okay. Yes, I think you asked what was my experience of prayer. And I think, I could say many things, but in general, my whole life is a prayer. And, but then I can get more specific with it. So when I'm praying in the spiritual mind treatment process, which is one way that I pray, that first step to me is acknowledging that, as in the pantheistic view, that God is above, beyond, and also in everything. So it's both in me, as me, and through me, and it is also beyond me. It is that power that is greater than myself and that I can use, as Ernest Holmes likes to say. And so I also kind of view another way that I like to pray is in the second person. So I pray to Great Mother, or she, or whoever it is that is right in front of me, that I, thou, So whoever comes to me in prayer right in front of me, usually it's Great Mother. So I like to say she, but I'm praying to that which created me. So it is kind of a both and for me. It's both that she is in me, as me, and through me, and she is also the person or the deity or the thing or the it or the creative intelligence that created me. So it's kind of a broad answer. Prayer to me is many things. So I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, I really like that, Marjorie. And, it's clear that you have been a Science of Mind student for a long time. And so I love and appreciate also that you've studied other things, because I know you, and so you have more of a broad perspective. But it is that interactive relationship that's a paradox, right? It's we have these 4 stages of consciousness. The first one is, I'm a victim. It's happening to me. I don't have control. God's going to punish me. God's doing it. I got to ask God for help, all that kind of stuff. Then it transcends and becomes, I'm in charge. It's me. It's my ego. I'm in charge of this whole thing, and I'm going to make it happen. And there's an element to that that's really, really beneficial. I'm not saying that's wrong, because you got to have that sense of will. And then typically what happens, people go, oh, this isn't working. So then they transition into this place of, I just got to let go and receive and ask. And ask. And in that receiving place, then it starts to fill one up. You start to get filled up with the divine consciousness, right? And then there's a transcendence that happens, and some people think this is unattainable. Some people call it cosmic consciousness. I happen to experience it regularly. Every time I do a spiritual mind treatment, every time I stand on the platform and do a centering in the morning, I experience I and thou as one. And it comes through me. It speaks. So I'm not sitting here thinking about it. I'm just allowing the words to come out. So that's what happens in spiritual mind treatment as well, so that this prayer is actually being manifested every single time. And that's what happens as we become licensed spiritual coaches. So it's a really beautiful experience, and thank you. What is the second question?
Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and unmute Anita. Anita, if you can, unmute yourself and join us.
Good morning, Ryan. Good morning, Carol.
Good morning.
Not so much a question there, Carol, but just a comment, right? Talking about the soul never being separated. And so, like most people in Judeo-Christian heritage, I learned originally to pray to a power outside of myself, right? And the beauty of science of mind, and actually in my early years of being a Quaker, that what I learned is that this is an indwelling presence. And so that's why the soul is never lost, because it's an indwelling presence that I can never be separated from.
Right.
And so, my prayer life has become that of which I am courting that ever-present presence, so that I meld into one, as you have expressed. And it's more of moving into that union, with that presence. And so it becomes very palpable. And from that place, then I know that anything that I need or desire or want to manifest in my life or in the world, either one, it comes from that place, and I know that immutable law then takes up that intention and that thought and automatically acts upon it. But it's really about courting that indwelling presence, and my prayer is always focused to commune with the indwelling presence. And prayer is the conversation, where meditation is listening to that still small voice within.
That's interesting, Anita. That's a great way to look at it, because that incorporates how spiritual mind treatment works, right? Because we're not just receiving, but we're also speaking the intention into the law. And so steps 1 and 2, as somebody mentioned, it's not just step 1, it is also step 2. It's identifying, as Anita so beautifully pointed out, identifying with that open, eternal, endless, ever-present soul, for lack of a better word, because he's using the word soul here. And that's not all. So now we go back to the state of consciousness called I'm in charge, my ego, I speak, I say, I have intention. It's not just, and so many people miss this in their spiritual growth, and I'm just going to let go. I'm going to sit here and commune and wait for God. How many people have I can't tell you, endless people. I want to know what my purpose is. I want to know what God's will for me is. The thing is God's will is your will. You are it. I am it. And so when we speak our word, we are speaking as this state, we used to call it kingdom, state number 2, this I have power. I can speak. I'm in charge. I can control things. Look at that. I can make my body move, right? And so that in combination with this receiving and communing consciousness is actually for me probably what the definition of prayer is and what spiritual mind treatment is. And the better we can intend and direct this consciousness into this state of this infinite presence within us, the better it manifests. So, what other questions do we have? Do we have any online, Ryan?
Right now, maybe we could just read a little bit further and then
well,
see
I read
what
the
comes
whole
up.
thing because you asked me to read the whole thing. I thought you said that.
Well, it looks like we have 2 eager
Thank you,
people up here in the very
Brenda.
front. If we could get a
Could we
microphone
have-
handed up to the front right there. Pass the mic. Pass the
Here you go,
mic.
sweetie.
Do whatever you... No, never mind. You just say your name and ask a question.
Good morning, community. I'm Brenda. So as I was listening, coming in, the sentence that struck me that we're talking about is the very first one. Prayer is not an act of overcoming God's reluctance. Actually, it was overcoming my reluctance. But should be an act of acceptance of highest willingness. So I began with reluctance and unwillingness, and my first experience of prayer was experiencing the tangible results of the prayers of the practitioners. And undeniable over and over again examples so that the scientific N number approached enough to say, wow, this is really happening. And then for several years, I struggled with the issue of allow, accept, receive, and utilize. And only very recently have I had the revealing. It's not a matter at all about allowing, because it is, spirit is, it already is, everything all around, everywhere, everyone, always, always, in all ways. My issue was acceptance. And beyond doing all the inner work that underlies our acceptance and worthiness and power issues, what I realized is that acceptance is really just unification. I am that. It is me, spirit expressing as Brenda, expressing spirit, expressing life. And once I have that acceptance and that, it was actually a very somatosensory, kinesthetic experience for me. I realized that just as we have to replace our old thinking with new thoughts, we have to release the very real physical somatic body holdings that our way of dealing with stuff before now has imprinted, and allow that sense of spiritual presence, that unification, that acceptance, and that naturally leads to the receiving. And it naturally leads in step 3 to the realization is the utilization. It is the active receiving. It is the empowerment that the presence and being as naturally leads in the unfolding of life ever unfolding for life ever unfolding.
Wow, you should write a book.
You're going to help me with that.
Oh, okay, great. So that is very awesome, Brenda. Music, I mean, really, and that totally describes everything in such a poetic way. I really appreciate you. I also appreciate the point you're making about the physical body, because so many people are challenged by the relationship with our spiritual awareness and our physical body, because physical bodies, they grow old, they get pain, they die. And so coming to terms with this process of who am I in this physical body, and where's the soul when this physical body is doing this thing that I don't like and I don't want. And so a lot of people want to do a treatment for making themselves 20 again. Well, that ain't happening. Nobody's turning 20 again unless you're already 20. Hey! So, and so there's such a powerful statement that allowing ourselves to really understand releasing the resistance and any kind of ways of previously holding ourselves into this newness of new thought. And that happens in the prayer process. So thank you, Brenda. That was beautiful. Jerry.
Hello, I'm Jerry. And when you asked the first question about if anybody had any kind of, I guess, ick or anything with prayer, I was thinking about it because I was like, well, yeah, I do have my, academic definition of prayer. But then when you got to the reading,
Yeah.
that starts with prayer is essential, that I guess gave me some awareness that a lot of the time I'm still praying as a petition, as an ask. Please God and that kind of stuff. So it just, and becoming aware of that, it just gave me some comfort and relaxing because I'm like, oh, okay, I see that petitioning is not really understanding the oneness with God. So by going through this, it just made me just more relaxed and comfortable saying, okay, yeah, so you can just be more aware of praying as God, with God, rather than just petitioning. And that just, resonates way more with my being.
Cool. And when did you start? When was that shift? How long ago?
No, I'm saying I just became more aware of it after when you asked the question and then read the chapter.
Oh, okay.
And that just brought me more awareness of it.
Oh, okay, great. Because that petitioning God, how many people come from the Judeo-Christian background? Okay, some people in our community did not. But, Anita, if you're still there, that having been a Quaker in the beginning, that's really important because you started out understanding this relationship with spirit way back in the beginning, whereas many people have this, I got to petition the Lord, I'm going to get punished, all that kind of stuff is in there, kind of driving the behavior and the beliefs. And eventually, and over time, as we practice, I'm not going to say instantly. Sometimes you'll have an epiphany, but as we practice, that's the value of spiritual practice. As we practice, we come more and more and more released from not only the body stuff, but from the psychological past. So Ernest Holmes says, principle is not connected to, bound by precedent. And that actually came from Thomas Troward, but whatever. So what that means is every time there's a new thought, it releases the old thought. And as we continue to become aware of, somebody talked about it, I become aware of my awareness. I'm becoming aware of what I wasn't aware of, because that stuff is now it's coming up to be released as you become aware of it. And then you can let it go. So long as I'm sorry, I'm preaching. As long as you are identifying as spirit. So I am spirit, I choose. And sometimes in science of mind treatment, spiritual mind treatment, people will say, I claim. Some people will say, I demand. And that's saying, I deny any false to fact information, any kind of stuff from the past that is not the spiritual truth. That is where the power is. Because then it's, well, what do I accept? I accept the opposite of that. I accept wholeness in my being. I accept an unconditional recognition that I am one with the divine. And so it becomes a true prayer. Another question?
Just looking here online. One of the funny ones that came in is you'll know what your true prayer is when you get to the top of the roller coaster.
And then,
kind of go, oh, God. Oh, wait, that wasn't me. I'm a new person now. Oh,
Yeah.
me. Yeah.
yes, awesome.
Quite interesting. But I'm not seeing any in the chat. Does anybody here have any questions, comments, thought-provoking statements?
What time do we end this?
We have about 13 more minutes.
Oh, wow. I was anticipating watching this clock up here, which is wrong.
Which is wrong, yes.
Okay, well, we can get into it more then.
Yeah, let's read a little bit further
Thank you so
ahead.
much. So, the nice thing about this is he says, prayer has stimulated countless millions of people to higher thoughts and nobler deeds, no matter how they consider prayer. Because putting the thought out there, whether it's an impeachment, it is an impeachment, impeaching, I am entreating, I am asking, I am begging God to do something, then that still works. It is not ideal, but it doesn't mean that it's not out there happening every single day. There's tons and tons of people that are praying to God, doing it with an external God in mind. And yet, it works, right? So, what we're doing is augmenting that and transforming it so it becomes more empowering. More empowering, where we actually see manifestation rather than waiting for God to manifest itself or himself in those cases. So this is an important distinction, right? That people are out there succeeding regardless. It's whenever anybody talks to you about Jesus or Jehovah or Allah, any of those things are that higher power that is available and inside of them. Because Jesus said the kingdom of God is within, right? So if Christians or anybody else is going, is there a correlate in Judaism about that?
Only that.
Microphone, please. Sorry.
In Judaism, you have the concept of Ein Sof, the one before the one in the beginning, coupled with wisdom. And so that's its wholeness roots before monotheistic paternalism took over. By archaeologic evidence around the walls of the temple, they found goddess statues of Asherat, a goddess of groves, also associated some with the Essenes. And so there are some mystical traditions holding on to that oneness concept, but they were soon replaced by imperial thoughts.
Okay. Okay, Moses and all. All right, so that's interesting, isn't it? The other thing I wanted to talk about is that the prayer tends to connect our minds with the universal mind and lets in a flood of consciousness. So I really want to encourage everybody to have a tracker. Just write down, did I meditate today? How long? And in the beginning, it may not be so pleasant. It may be, and I'm talking to people all the time that are like, I don't want to meditate because my mind's thinking all the time. Thinking, past, present, future, problems, issues, all that kind of stuff, and it spins around. But over time, if you're consistent and you get to choose, then what happens is you start to allow this thinking to shift into more alpha or a more open and responsive and relaxed brain consciousness. So that's what I do as a coach, is help people transition from that to that. And it really, really helps. We have a meditation here every Wednesday night that people can participate in. And it's basically, I'm telling you what, there's all kinds of apps, there's music, but the thing is to track yourself. Because why? It may be hard. It may be challenging. But then it becomes profound and deep with regular practice. So I can't emphasize enough the power of spiritual practice. Any questions about that? Meditating? Yes, Brenda.
In addition to whatever formal practice you may have, be that a sitting practice, a chanting or moving practice, one thing that helped me transcend some of my restrictions around practice came from one of my prior spiritual traditions, where we taught life as conscious ritual. So getting up in the morning while showering, releasing and purifying, before meals, attuning with the food, and all of the hands between it and me. Moments of breath between, just looking up from my desk out the window and seeing a bird flit by. And so it becomes moments more and more throughout the day, with intentionality and awareness to bring back that focus. So it moved from just a meditation time practice into that constant reminder. I can't quote Christian scriptures exactly, but to pray incessantly, I believe is the phrase. So to live.
Without ceasing. Yeah.
Okay.
Same thing.
So,
Thank you. Okay, good. So that is a very good point, isn't it? It's about constantly or being aware. Like, what am I thinking right now? And it's really becomes a challenge in your day-to-day life to go, okay, what am I thinking right now? What am I feeling right now? So when we incorporate these practices, I learned years ago about lighting the food. So I would put my hands this way on the food and tune myself into it. Other people from a Christian tradition say grace, right? And so it's, what am I blessing? What am I grateful for? And incorporating that into my day-to-day lifestyle so that it becomes more powerful and more consistent. We want to become consistent. I keep forgetting which camera I'm looking at. We need to be more consistent with our daily practice so that then it manifests in our life. So there's less stress, less anxiety, less anger, more creativity, greater peace. And then as a result, then there's more abundance. There's more better relationships. There's more fun. And is that what he said is fun? Yeah. Prayer is essential to happiness. So prayer is fun. How about that? That's my new mantra. Prayer is fun. Prayer is fun. And then it becomes, oh man, I want to do this. It's not, okay, I got to sit down and meditate. It's, all right, I can't wait. And then we start to get into this beautiful relationship with our own interaction with the divine. And I'll tell you what, if you're anything like me, you got stuff going on in your life. And so another cool trick is every time you go to the bathroom, what can I be grateful for? What am I grateful for? Stop and breathe. Breathing exercises. Well, every time I get into the car or at a stoplight, breathe and notice. Become aware and feel into the consciousness of the divine. This happens as a result of intention, of deciding, of making it important. Yes, ma'am. There's a question behind you, Brenda.
I've been...
What's your name, please?
Oh, I'm Amelia.
Hi, Amelia.
Hello. I've been trying to mull this over for a couple weeks now and figure out how exactly to word it. So we'll see if I can do it right now. So I've been meditating a lot. And I finally reached that really deep experience where I was able to like really separate myself and go further into like my true expression and just see myself and sit back and sit with it. And it's been really, really amazing. And I'm wondering if you can shed some light, because since doing that, and I've reached the point where I just can't wait to meditate like
cool.
as often as possible, and get to that place. And what I feel like I'm struggling a little bit now with is the integration of the dualism. Because I separated myself and it felt so amazing. And just, I recognized my struggles with the attachments I have to the ideas that I have. And so being able to be calm and sit with it is one thing. But then to come out and recognize all of it constantly outside of that, everything. At first it was really beautiful, and now I'm like, I just want to sit inside myself and not deal with any of the other stuff. And it's a struggle to integrate. So if you can shed any light.
Yes.
Hopefully that made sense.
Yes.
I've been trying to think about that for a good minute now.
All right, great. That's perfect. So the next step for you is spiritual mind treatment. Because yes, the actual expansion and feeling greater, and even considering you can be in a state where instead of it's my body, it's the body, the thoughts, and you disidentify with yourself. That happens with ketamine, for example, and psychedelics. So that is a spiritual place. And that's obviously not the solution. It's a step. So this step is important in the transition to where then you bring back this state number 2 into I decide, and then you start to put it into the law. You start practicing speaking your intention into the word. I'm going to invite everybody on Sunday mornings. There's practitioners sitting over there in that room, and they'll be more than happy to help you with this. They will do a treatment for you. You can come in and say, this is what I want, and they will do a treatment for you, and you can use that as a template for what I can do when I go home. And then you can call practitioners. We're all available for phone calls, and it's free, so don't worry about that. And then you get the experience of the thing you're looking for, which is moving from that to, okay, I'm going to clean up this physical reality, which is what we call the condition. And then it starts to change your life. Okay? All right, Ryan.
Yes, and another thing that can help change your life is joining in the classes here at CSLDallas. That's another way to join with other community members. I know Carol teaches, she's going to be having visioning coming up here soon, so definitely make sure to take a look out for that. But we have a class that's going to be starting this month with Dr. Petra, which is Consciousness in the Creative Process, which is a deeper dive on the work of Thomas Troward. And if you're not familiar with him, he's a Punjabi lawyer who also was a Science of Mind fanatic. Well, he was before Science of Mind. So Ernest Holmes based a lot of his philosophy on the work of Thomas Troward. So join Dr. Petra. That's going to be starting June 26th. So you can look online for that. And then we also have another special guest speaker and workshop facilitator that's going to be here next week, and that's Esther Nicholson. She's a phenomenal singer, too, if you didn't know that. And she marries the 12-step program along with the Science of Mind in a really deep and profound way. So if you're looking to heal, if you're looking to get through some transitions in your life, it's a perfect workshop and a perfect time to join us on Sunday. So I just wanted to make you guys aware of that. And one last thing, who here likes to have fun with friends?
Yay!
We have an amazing several experiences going on throughout the month of August. It's called Fun with Friends. It's a program that's designed by all of the community members here at CSL Dallas. What you do is you go to the site and you bid on different seats for different experiences. So there'll be like a sound bowl meditation event. There'll be a game night event. There's just different experiences that the community members are hosting that we as community members can bid on, and the proceeds go to help our spiritual center here. So it's a great way to meet people, have some fun, and support a great cause. So if you'd like to learn more, head on over to CSLDallas.org. Under the events tab, you'll see Fun with Friends.
Yay.
So lots going on here at CSL Dallas. Any last words in closing, Carol?
We'll see you next week, and we're going to continue on this subject of prayer. Yay.